Hi, Betty. Woo, there's so many people on already. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. Hi, Kathy. Oh, let's see if I have to make any edits. Sometimes I'll have to make an edit to the chat here. But I already see you're in there, so that's a good sign. Good sign. Perfect. How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Oh, I look very bright today. Woo. Also, well, I'll get into that in a second. I'm supporting my bad habit this week. I don't know if you are a Run Disney person, but this week was wine and dine registration. And ooh, cold and snowy in Chicago. I'm so sorry, Lilith. It was supposed to be cold and snowy here. My kids had a 2 hour delay, and then it like warmed up super fast, and they had to go to school, and they were so mad. I wasn't because I had work to do, but that's the difficulty of being a mom towards being a kid. But anywho, how's everybody doing? Oh, anyway, so I was starting to say, if you are part of the Run Disney crazies like myself, this week was wine and dine registration. And if you don't know what wine, I'm sorry, I'm fixing just something that was in the presentation real quick. So, if you're not familiar with what Wine and Dine is, it's a really fun event that you get to run through the Disney parks, and it happens in usually November. This year it's October. And the registration for Run Disney is like the Hunger Games. It is not fun. But I'm in on the challenge. So if you're gonna be there, I hope to see you there. If not, maybe I can encourage you another time. But welcome. If this is your first time here, sorry, I was on a little tangent there. My name is Laura Vega. I'm the Director of Agency Development at World Via Travel Network. And I do these sessions every Thursday. They are free. They're open to everybody in the travel industry. So if you have friends or anyone that you think could benefit from this, make sure to send it along. If this is not your first time here, welcome back, guys. I already can see there's a few return guests, so I'm happy to see you all. I also am excited because we are getting into a topic tonight that I know and love dearly, which is sales. A little bit about me if this is your first time here. For those of you that have been here before, just you go fill your water, everything for a second. Oh, welcome, Heather. Hi, Rocky. Oh, the free baked goods. See, here's the thing. I knocked on that bakery's door and they just didn't answer me. I don't know if it was a me thing or a them thing, but you'll just have to be here for my personality this week. But anyways, for those of you here that it's your first time, I have a little bit about me. I started as a travel advisor like all of you, worked in an agency for a few years, then moved into is it Aaliyah? I hope I pronounced that correct. Welcome. Um, I moved into the business development side, worked for national accounts for a very large wholesaler for many years, owned my own agency for a little while during COVID, and was very successful in the national account space and sales space for a very long time. And one thing that came up to me pretty consistently when I was out in offices as a national account manager was the fact that there is a real need for personal and professional development. There's just this that for some reason these conversations weren't happening, right? And so I was like, what can I do? What can I offer? It's just a brief thing. It's only an hour a week where we kind of just get into it. We've talked about goals and habits in the past. We've talked about business structures and financial structures. This week and the next couple of weeks, we're getting into sales, which I love sales. And listen, as much as we're selling fun things, at the end of the day, it's still sales. And I think just refreshing, going back to a 101, getting back to your basics on this is very, very important. There is a fuzz in my hair and it's driving me nuts, guys. So I'm just gonna get it. Because I was gonna look at it won't go away. There we go. And I would see it the whole time. But anywho, so I think it's really important to go back to your basics every once in a while and refresh. So even if you are experienced, this is a great spot to just go, am I still doing what I know works? If you are brand new, this is a great place to get your basics, right? I was very fortunate when I started the industry. I went through an extensive training program where I learned sales basics and then got to utilize it very actively in the spaces that I worked in. And so I love to teach it. I think it's a really, I think sales, listen, whether you realize it or not, you're always selling, even if you're not technically thinking you're selling. Like just even putting your brand out to the world is selling your brand. But there's also just like so many sales components, of course, to travel sales. I did just pop the link into the Facebook group. If it's your first time here, go ahead and add yourself to it. All the old episodes get posted in there the day after. You can go back and watch all the old episodes. There's a ton of information in there. I'll repeat topics eventually, but not yet because we just did a lot of them and I have a full plan for the whole year. But feel free to go add yourself. We put a lot of information out there about what's coming up, what we might be doing when I have the opportunity and I'm active in there. I post in there. Also, I'll be traveling a lot, so I'll be letting you guys know where I'm at. See if we can come meet up. But anyways, let's get into it because it's 7:05 and I like to do that quick introduction and then I'll go on my way. So let me pop up the presentation. Did you know, Rocky, did you know instead of baked goods, you were getting a song today? You're welcome. All right, I'm just gonna share really quickly. I do like to do the side to side share just so you can see me speaking as I'm speaking. Because I like to be a little animated and it helps for the conversation to flow. You're cool with that too. Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate it. Can you guys see the screen? I know last week I flubbed up and showed a different screen, but I hope everything looks good. So Sales 101. I didn't even do a fancy name for this one. We just called it what it is because that's the nitty and gritty of it, right? So techniques for closing more bookings and proven strategies to help you convert more inquiries into confirmed sales, right? So if this is not your first time here, you've heard me say it a lot. We are very lucky we're not selling vacuums, right? We are selling a lot of times luxury experiences. And if it's not necessarily a luxury to you or luxury vacations, it may be a luxury to the individual that you're selling it to. Many people they save their whole year for these trips. They save it might be a once in a lifetime multi-generation trip. These are a big deal no matter how big or small the vacation is. And it really should be treated that way. So regardless of what I say today, it's always important to remember you are in a relationship-based sales situation because you're not selling a tangible item. We're gonna talk about it and we're gonna get into it, but the importance of storytelling and selling the value to your customers, because again, like I said, they might have seen 2, 3, 5 years for this trip. They want it to be perfect. So making sure you handle that with care and understanding is incredibly important. And it's going to build a huge repeat clientele for you if you take those extra minutes to do it. I can't tell you how many people I watched as advisors. So I'm just looking over because I forgot I made myself some tea. So I want to pretend like I'm having caffeine because I get sleepy, guys. I can't deny it. But this has no caffeine in it. I forgot that little tidbit. But I can't tell you how many people especially during this time of year when we're still in wave season, busy season, we turn into order takers a bit, right? And we don't mean it. We're like, okay, what can I give? How many people? Okay, and where do you want to go? You don't have an idea yet? Did you think about any properties? Like we just get too stuck in that routine and forgetting the emotion that's attached to these trips because it might be something exciting happen in their life that they're going. It might be someone's birthday or someone just recovered from cancer, like they're in that process. It could be they've graduated from school. There could be so many things that are attached that if you don't ask those questions, you don't know. And it's important handling all that with a lot of care. So, but we'll get into it. I'll talk about how to handle that and address things from relationship-based sales approach going through this. So first things first, come on now, presentation. There we go. Why sales skills matter, right? Sales is about helping and not pushing. Guide clients to the right decision, right? So again, you are not, do you remember, and if any of you still do it, zero judgment, but I remember when I was growing up, people used to sell knives at the front door. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about and you remember it, throw it in the chat. But I remember they would sell like steak knives or like the Encyclopedia Britannica. Thank you, Donnie. You remember? And when you go there, they're pushing sales, right? They're trying to get out so many. They're trying to make $1 per item. They're going door to door. Very different. They still do that, Rocky? Okay, I wasn't sure. I remember my parents had a set too, and I don't know if it's something of that time period. They're like, sure, I'll buy knives from the door. We absolutely also only had a partial piece of the Encyclopedia Britannica set because my dad got it on a deal. I can go on with my father's deals for days, but needless to say, you're not supposed to be pushing that in that manner, right? We're not knocking on doors trying to sell vacations. What you're doing is you're helping them. Many of these individuals, Mauricio, my mother bought a vacuum from a door. I was just talking about vacuums. They did use, I do actually now I do remember they did use to sell vacuums listen, door-to-door salesmen were a thing. And I appreciate their hustle. I am very thankful I don't have to do it myself. Right. But just to bring this back in, we're helping people, right? So many people, even if they're an experienced traveler, they've traveled a bit, they still might not know what they want out of a property. They still might not know what area of a location they might want to be in. They might not know the area of a hotel they want to be in. They might not know where they should go once they get there to figure out what restaurants to go to. They might not know, goodness, it could be a lot of things. Why it makes more sense to fly in the day before a cruise, right? They'll be like, oh, but there's a cheaper flight that morning. You, as the professional in this conversation, it is your job to be having these conversations with them, helping them make these decisions, saying, hey, I don't know that I know this is they're kind of going away from this, but I remember when Breathless Brands first came out, and like there was sections of that hotel that you needed to stay in. One was a very loud section. So if you put they wanted like a more modern look, a different kind of hotel, and you put them in the party section, that you were going to hear about it. So you had to make sure you're helping them in a way that makes sense, helping them also find if they're going to New Orleans, let's bring up New Orleans, right? Because the Super Bowl just happened. Telling them if they aren't busy and don't like the party scene, telling them about Frenchman Street so they know where they could still see some great jazz and experience it, but on a much smaller scale, or telling them about going to Uptown and what they could see up there. Like having that knowledge is what makes you the expert and the professional. So you want to guide your clients to the right decision. Sometimes the clients will come in thinking they know they want something, and on impact that they actually want something very different, and something very different will be better for them. And there are going to be occasions where they're not going to do it. They're like, I want it. Somebody told me it's great. I will tell you, in those occasions, I've absolutely had them sign paperwork. Hey, it's because there's going to be times where they're going to go to a hotel and you're like, I know that hotel's not good. And they're going to go, no, I want to go. I love it. I don't care. You have them sign that paperwork. And that's something that you have to get in the habit of being comfortable with, and say, and you handle it with kindness and grace, right? Totally understandable if that's where you want to go. I would like you to sign this just to know that I advised otherwise, but I'm happy to book that for you, right? Because you don't want those complaint calls after. But again, that's all part of your guidance, part of your expertise. Of course, why sales skills matter. Higher revenue. See, Donna, you agree. But higher revenue, converting inquiries into bookings. Okay, that is just that simple. The more people that reach out to you, the more of a close rate you have, the more money you're bringing in. Yes, COA, cover your ass. I'll say cover your ass. Don't. Bless. Part of my team is pulling clips from this for advertisement. Please don't pull the part where I say cover your ass, Jamie. Love you, mean it. But you're right, and it's important to talk about. I'm big on red flag protection, right? But converting into bookings as simple as that. That's going to bring the cash in. That's going to get you your money. That's going to help you make business decisions in the future. The more you're converting, the more you're able to invest back into your business. And of course, happier clients. When you have proper sales skills and you're listening and you're paying attention, they're not going to have to question your choices. They're not going to come back and go, did you hear me? Did you understand me? They're going to know you're listening, and we're going to talk through how you can kind of do that in a moment. But you want clients to leave feeling good, feeling excited to tell their friends and family, excited to bring some more business back to you, right? You want them to be your cheerleaders. That is the easiest set of business that you could bring in, is having happy clients, instilling it in four walls marketing, and having them come back to you. If you're not familiar with four walls marketing, it is not having to advertise a single cent. It is on referrals and excitement alone, where people go out and within the four walls of their living room, they go, hey, let me tell you about this girl I have. Let me tell you about this expert guy I have. And that's what's going to bring the sales back into you, is within that four walls, they've sold it to everybody around them. So many businesses have even done their whole business structure on four walls marketing. So highly, highly recommend. Happy clients lead to a higher repeat business for you. Okay. Understanding the buyer's mindset, right? Donna, it's called four walls marketing. So, like four walls of a room. Understanding the buyer's mindset. So one, expert guidance, right? That is what you're there for. Clients don't always know what they want. And again, like I said, sometimes they think they know what they want. Sometimes they believe what the little old internet, behind their little tappy fingers, said that they want. And a great example of this, and Sandals is a great brand, but it's the most recognizable brand, right? And I just think for well interest of your clients, sometimes, sandals is not the vibe for everybody, right? So it's very couples oriented. It's very, depending, one exception to the rule, Sandals Montego Bay. If you know, you know, it's a lot of fun. It's not necessarily couples oriented, but it's, if they're looking for a specific kind of situation and looking for if there are people, oh, I want to party, I want to be out late. I'm into the going out scene. That's not the right recommendation for them, right? But they're going to see sandals everywhere. They see sandals everywhere. Sandals advertises they're on every commercial. They're on the Today Show. They're here, they're there. Another great example in the river cruise space. An individual might only know Viking river cruises, right? Because they're advertised. They spend a lot of their marketing. They're very noticeable. They're a noticeable brand. We talked about brand identity last week. They have it down, but that might not be the right vibe for them. They might not even be river cruise people. And that's a conversation you need to suss out with them. And also just like your expert guidance in like, I'm going into brand specifically there, but it could just be like, I want to stay at this hotel. But you know very well that that hotel is way too far from everything else in downtown Paris, right? It's not in those circles that it needs to be in. So you want to recommend them to be closer. You want to recommend them to be closer to areas that they can get to in and out for public transportation. Thinking through things like that. I always say preventative maintenance, right? You are the person that's going to offer the ideas and the thoughts and the planning so they don't have to be thinking as much on their trip, right? Let them go into vacation brain just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit so they can relax and enjoy themselves. And that's your guidance that's going to take them there. Another big thing is emotional and logical decision-making process. Okay, so one that's important, I already mentioned this. You'll notice I get very repetitive if this is your first time, but that's because if it's repeated a bunch, it's important. People buy on heart and justify it later. I said this last week on branding. It's important here. If you sell them a good story, if you appeal to their emotions, and I'm not saying that in a weird salesman-y way, I'm saying that in like, if you can tell it's really important to a wife when she comes in that she can see the Eiffel Tower from her hotel, but the husband's trying to talk her out of it because this or the other thing, or he likes likes the rooms at another hotel. It's your job as the expert to sell the story and the value of what that's going to be for her and tie that emotion to it. Because then once the husband sees it, he's going to go, oh, I want to make sure that happens for her, right? And of course, thinking logically. So again, sometimes with advertisements and the way things come out, and again, good advertising sometimes diffuses or like bleeds into the market and puts things out there that might not be the best option for people. Make sure it makes sense. If you have someone that needs handicap accessible options for them, and if you're sending them to the Caribbean, for example, you have to do your research and think logically about where you place them, because not every destination in the Caribbean, well, none of them need to adjust to handicap requirements, because that is like a requirement of the United States, and some other countries do it as well, but it is not a requirement of the Caribbean. So you need to be the person that is making the thoughts for them and thinking those things through beforehand. So again, like they thought they wanted to go somewhere, but they need handicap accessibility, and that's not an option. That's your job as the professional to help them through that. So, and then of course, building trust. And ways to do that is by knowing these things and thinking ahead of time for them. But building trust, so addressing your concerns, making it easy, again, preventative maintenance. Ask the questions and do the things that you know are going to be the questions or concerns afterwards. And sometimes that takes a couple extra steps from you to go, okay, they want to go to Disney World. Do they know about the dining package? Do they know that they have to select their dining months in advance? Do they know about the fast pass system? Do they know how to use the lightning lane system? Does that make sense for them financially? Thinking about those things, because again, just because options are available doesn't mean it makes financial sense for your client. And again, that's what you would need to figure out in budget questions and in your qualifying questions. But what your preventative maintenance is you going, okay, how do I handle this to them and saying, listen, this might not be in your budget, but this other thing might, and it'll heighten your experience more for what you're looking for. So being able to talk through that with with them and have them understand what makes sense for their budget, or if they're willing to spend out of their budget. I will tell you, statistically, people will spend 20% over the budget they've told you they have. Now, I know a lot of people are afraid to, I know I went on a tangent now, I'm not even on trust anymore, but it's important to know this. A lot of people are afraid to ask for budget. And I get it. It's a nerve-wracking question, and people have gone back and forth on the sales process on whether you should really ask it or not. There's a couple ways around it if you're not comfortable. You could say where you stayed in the past or what properties have you already been looking at, because if they're already looking at it, they have an idea, or if they've stayed there before, they should be comfortable with the cost. I was always a big believer to say, hey, is there a budget we're working around or not, just so I can keep my head in the right space. But sometimes they're not comfortable talking about it. That's okay. So people love to say they don't have a budget, and then when they do, they're like, then my favorite thing to do with that, they're like, no budget, it doesn't really matter. I would pick all the best options for them, and they'd go, whoa, it's a little higher than we wanted. I was like, oh, I didn't know you said there was no budget. Like you can play that game a little bit. Ooh. Donna said her daughter goes to Disney every year. They have 4 kids, 10 grand. That's not even staying Disney. I can go on, and I'm a Disney lover, clearly wearing a Disney, do run Disney. But Disney is a luxury vacation, through and through, not necessarily in the, and I'm not saying the quality's bad, but not necessarily in the quality level, in the cost. Hands down, if you have somebody that's staying on at a Disney destination, you could sell them off to a luxury vacation somewhere else easily because the price amount is very similar. It's you selling the value of the other destination. But again, I'm on many tangents right now. And I don't even remember where I truly ended the last one, but it's just, being able to have the right conversations and building the trust because you've thought through these things for them, being able to talk through what makes sense and making sure they're comfortable in their decisions. So, okay. Oh, we were talking about budget. Thank you. Actually, I just wanted to let's just, yeah. One thing I've heard is before is to ask up to what amount as far as budget. Great thing. Yeah, that's a great way to talk about that. And again, like don't let budget scare you too much because people do have an idea, and then that's what I was getting at. So, and statistically, they'll spend about 20% over. So if they tell you their budget is about $4,000, roughly, if you sell them the value appropriately and why that extra dollar amount and why that you added it in, and it makes sense for them, they're going to spend up to about 4,800. Just truly, like out of comfortability, people are going to offer it there because they're probably already lowballing a little bit, or maybe they're not, but maybe they're like, okay, I can see the value. It is statistically proven they will spend about 20% over their budget. Okay, let me take another sip of tea. I got an itchy throat today, guys. Okay, mastering the sales conversation. First things first, asking the right questions. And this, and truly is not being an order taker. It's not how many people, where are you going, what hotels have you looked at? That's not it. This is where do what's important to you on this trip? Are you a beach person or a pool person? Are you an active traveler, or are you, I want to stay in and do nothing, have everyone take care of me? And I think these are questions that get lost in experience. We think, oh, I know this person, I don't need to ask these questions. Or if you have repeat clientele, you don't ask these questions because like, I know this person, and we do, right? But I think it's important, especially even if it's a repeat customer, to be going, everything's still the same, right? We still feel the same way. We're still good with this before you make assumptions. Something could have changed in their life. Something dramatic could have happened with their health, or a situation that's out of their control. So making sure I put desires and pain points here, but I even say, like, when I'm talking to people conversationally about where they work or what they're doing, I said, can I just ask you, like, what do you love about what you're doing? I would challenge you to ask the same questions. What did you love about your last vacation? You'll find a lot out of what they didn't like in asking what they love. Because when you go, what do they love? They're like, I love this. This was fabulous. But, I didn't like this because, and why I love the other thing is because this wasn't great. People tend to fall into that negativity and bring it out when you ask them what they love anyways, because they want to compare it. And this is, I know we talked about this weeks ago, but these are conversations you should be having in follow-up, especially if you have already booked them, if they're repeats. But this again is still relevant if it's the first time booking with them. But anyone you send on a trip, you should be asking 2 weeks after they come back, hey, I love your feedback, good, bad, and different. I always joke with you guys, questions, comments, or sarcastic remarks, right? Make the joke of it, but it's important to get that information because that builds your repertoire of information to have for the future on the destination and the client, and you can make your own like destination guides in the future. But also, it gives you the information for the future. Like, oh, they didn't love this place. They didn't love where this was located. They didn't love the pool here. They did wish it had this, so that when you're looking at their next trip, you know that it has those pieces. And sometimes even with your preventative maintenance, you just miss things, and that's okay. Human nature, human error happens. But trying to ask those questions and ask open-ended questions. It's not, oh, did you love this? Did you not like this? What was your favorite part about this property? Did you like where this was, like, what did you like about where it was located? Ooh, Rocky. Rocky's a checklist he's been refining, but it's been a lifesaver for building. I highly recommend a checklist. Start a Word doc for yourself where you ask certain questions. They work, they give you good answers. Keep adding more. Ask your peers that we talked about people and having your people last week, right? Get with your people and say, what are you asking? What are your qualifying questions? I want to look if I can still have it. I used to have a similar checklist, Rocky, that I would fill out for every individual, no matter if they were new, old, 10 times repeat. I would fill out what I could from knowledge, right? But then I would go, okay, what am I missing? What do I not have? Or what do I need to refresh on my questions? Hey, is this still the same? Any accommodations needed for this trip? Especially if they're traveling with new individuals, like you're used to booking the one person, but they're bringing in new people, hands down, ask the questions. And this, I will scream from the rooftops, is number 2. We love even, and I'm not calling you out, Rocky, but I'm using it as an example. Rocky's got a great checklist, but if Rocky isn't listening to the answers, it doesn't matter. I can't tell you, even in my own team, in a separate, different kind of business, I every day have to, I would say at least once a week, I have to remind us to be active listeners. Ooh, look at that reaction. No one's ever reacted on here. It looked like a nervous face. I loved it. Um, be an active listener. And sometimes that means putting your notebook down, not writing, and listening. You can circle back around and follow up. You can go, okay, hold on, let me write this down. I'll write this down after, or have the conversation. Actively listen and respond and repeat, right? That's important. So if someone says to you, oh, it's really important for us to be close to a train station because we want to be able to get in and out easily with public transportation. And you're just so worried about where they want to stay and what they want to be doing, and you miss this piece. And you're like, I know a fabulous hotel for you. And it's here and it's got this included. And you don't process what they said about needing to be close to the transportation. And they look it up and they're like, oh, that is not what I asked her at all. That's not what I said to them at all. They've immediately lost trust in you. They don't think that you've listened to them because you haven't. And this also is in this is difficult to do around this time of year because you're busy, when you are so excited because you think you have the perfect trip for them and you can't wait to tell them about it, and you stop listening to what their needs and wants are. And you're like, oh my God, this is where I even catch it with my own team. I can't wait to tell the next thought. You have that thought building in your head. And I get guilty too, where I'm like, I can't control what I'm feeling. I'm insides. And then you are not paying attention to your surroundings and you miss and pick up on things that you've missed the lead entirely. So, and I used like the train station example. Another great example of this is, I'll use Disney as an example because we just talked about Disney. Cost is important to an individual. They say they want certain things. They say that, I want my family to stay in a nicer resort. But it's really important that we can get involved in the meal plan because I know that's back. And we really like sit down meals, but I don't think we can afford a deluxe property. And I would really love to, I don't know, I'm getting a little too off target with that. But the reality is, if you're writing down, oh, they need meals included, and they don't have the money to stay, or I'm sorry, and that you hear like they'd love to stay at a deluxe, but they don't have the funds for it, right? and you just go into your order taking mode and you put them at a moderate property and you give them whatever dining plan they need or whatever comes with that for free at the time. And you miss the idea of like upgrading them and they find out they could have upgraded, they're going to be annoyed and they're going to talk to somebody else. If you miss the fact that that mother that you're speaking with has 4 kids, like you're saying your daughter has, and 10 grandkids, and and she's just like, oh, this is our big trip, and I don't have any, I'm always the planner, and I don't get to sit around and be a part of things, and you're not actively listening to what she's talking about, why it's so important to her to be around the family, and saying that, you know what, I think we should have the memory maker for you, because then you don't have to worry about the photos. You're going to be in them, and I can tell you, moms, grandmas were never in the photos. So recommend that out. Like listening to those little pieces. And I'm getting very into the details at the moment, but sometimes it's, I don't love walking too far on a property. But they're in a destination where, like say Punta Cana, where everything is those long stretching properties. Put those people on an ocean view or an oceanfront room. So at least that they're getting the visual that they want. They're near the pool, they're in the oceanfront, they're getting the experience they want. And so that when they're in there, yes, they're gonna have to walk a little bit to the resorts, but feeling like they're in a destination, feeling like they're experiencing it is gonna be right in front of them. It's hearing, that they want to see all the things, they want to do all the things, but they don't know how they're going to get it all in, saying they're in Europe, putting them on a hop on, hop off bus, saying, you know what, I know that you probably haven't even thought about this, but I'm going to put you on this because then you could see it all, do it all, and then you can decide what you really want to dive into further once you're there. This is when they're going to Hawaii, they're like, I've never been and I just want to truly experience all there is in Hawaiian culture. And you're not adding the lei greeting when they land in Honolulu, you miss the boat. Like those are the things that like paying attention and it's going to make the experience. Actively listen and repeat back what they say. If they gave you an important detail, they need handicap assistance at the airport. They have dietary restrictions. If they have celiac and they're allergic to gluten, and you need to mark all those things, make sure you're repeating those back to them. So again, sometimes it's closing the book and listening, and then it's going, okay, I heard this, you want this, we're looking at this. I would repeat everything back to them they said to me before I even started looking. So, Misty, I've had suppliers just totally be off target. I do feel they don't hear them. And listen, that's fair. Like I worked for a supplier, right? And I will tell you, I would go back and I'm looking down at my phone for a moment. Y'all to have my husband close my door for this room because my kids are near chaos level. Can you close the door? You may have already heard me. But chaos ensues right around 9:40. My dog runs in, the kids run around. I can hear all the chaos in the background. Oh, and there she goes. But so, and I used to listen to coworkers and when I was leading the team and I would sit and I would hear them go, they would be order takers. Okay, you just want this? Okay, you just want that? And they're already typing, you can hear them, right? And they're not listening. And one of the things that I implemented with my team back when I worked on the wholesale team was they had to physically write on paper and pen down because when you were typing, you weren't paying attention. I don't know what they were looking at. They weren't paying, like it disconnected them from the conversation they were having. And again, it's not just relationship-based sales for you and your client, it's relationship-based sales for you and the supplier. You need your supplier to be hearing you and understanding you. And because especially if you have those special requests, you need to make sure they hear them. And I get that. And I know a lot of advisors that turn off of certain suppliers because they didn't have a great experience. So I totally understand. Okay, and personalization. Again, tailor recommendations. I kind of went down this road, but again, like recommending, specific gelato spots, recommending they stay in the oceanfront room because they don't want to walk far to a lot of things and they want to experience the destination. Recommending a restaurant in Seattle that they'll love, recommending that they do the dog sledding tour in Alaska, those kind of things. So making it personal for them. Okay. This is one that not everybody loves, but we're going to talk about it. You have to sell the experience. So it's very easy for you you're listening, you're active listening, you've repeated it. Now you've written down what you need. You've searched your details. You're calling them back and you're like, Linda, I've got a great Greece trip planned for you. I have you going to Mykonos and Santorini, and let me tell you about what I have for you. And then you just start reading your order off. You were an order taker, but you're like, okay, you're going to stay 3 nights here, and I booked this excursion here, and then you're going to do this here, and then you're going to do this, and it's that room and this here, and it's just a laundry list. And you have done the hard work. You have hustled, but they're just hearing you read off your piece of paper. For a percentage of your bookings, that's fine. So they're gonna, okay, she listened. Great. Some people still need to be sold. Never forget, this is emotional relationship-based sales. You want to sell the story. Put them in Greece, okay? And I use Greece, and I even have a little fun AI picture of Greece here. But the reality is, Linda, you're not going to believe the hotel I got for you. One, you're going to be able to see the sunset in Santorini from the pool on your balcony. So you're going to have that cocktail. You're going to be able to float out at the end of the night and just watch the sun go down before you head out to dinner. Because, dinner, they're going to eat late there, but that's okay. You're going to enjoy it. So you can have that moment. You're going to be able to wake up in the morning and see the sun, sit out on your little balcony and enjoy your breakfast out there. It's going to be the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen in this room. The rooms for 3 nights. And then I thought while you're there, you can go do this tour down in the city. It's a walking tour. You're going to go see different food, or you're going to go eat with the locals. I don't know, I'm making up the tour right now, right? You're building the space for them to be in. Then you're going to leave to there, and then you're going to Mykonos. And this property isn't going to look out over the ocean, but it is going to be right it's right next to this amazing restaurant that you will love. And it's close to the downtown area where you can take in the culture. I'm not just making a list. I'm putting them in the place. Rocky says, I 100% agree with this. I think a lot of clients I deal with want to talk via email, which makes this so hard to do storytelling. Great point. When I get my clients on video or phone, I feel my sales go much better. Right. And you're right. And listen, I don't want to deny the fact that we are in a digital world. And this is much harder digitally. But sometimes just, I put sensory details, but sometimes just putting that in the listing of your email makes it for them. Including images in your email helps with this. But if you can get them on the phone, that is the best way. And I know that's tough. And I'm just as guilty. Sometimes I'm like, please just email it to me. It's tough. But putting them in the destination. If this is, and I did Santorini, if this is Disney World, all right, you're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to head over to, what is it? 1900 Park Fair. You're going to be eating with Cinderella for breakfast. You're going to be making some jokes with the Mad Hatter. Then you're going to head to the Magic Kingdom. We've got your memory maker worked out for you, so don't worry about photos. And we have your fast passes. We're going to have your fast passes leaned up for the day. What's important to you? Where do you want ride? Do you want to go on first? And you make those jokes with them. You have that conversation. Then you say, then you're going to come back to the Animal Kingdom Lodge, where we have you in a Savannah View room, and those kids are going to see those animals. You can wake up. Did you know when you're there at night, you can go out and look through night goggles and see the animals walking around at night? Like, those little pieces are going to sell every sale for you. But again, and you're gonna have to get creative. I would say, and I know everyone uses different tools, and I don't try to promote different tools, but I know a lot of CRM systems have photos already loaded in, or you can load your photos in. Start to build a book of what you can put in, like a proposal that you send out. So it may not be it might be not a full story, but it's putting the imagery in place for them. It's placing them in there. Visual, anything visual you can put in front of them. So again, details. You're gonna see that purple sunset. You're going to feel that cold air when you walk out to go see the northern lights at night when you're in New Zealand, right? Like the pieces, telling them about experiences they can do. If they're going on a Regent Seven Seas, explaining like, oh, you might be in a port you don't love that day, but what you can do, you can experience their dining classes where you can learn how to make the food of the destination you're in, and explain those things to them. Put them in the place. And another big piece is, any testimonials you have from the past, and you get that from that 2 week after email, right? Or that 2 week email after phone call. So again, explaining to them how they're going to love it, showing them the story, putting them in the story. Oh. I was trying to use my mouse and it wants me to use it. I just like this girl had pink and purple hair. I thought it was fun. Anywho, confidence and enthusiasm. Listen, they're buying based on your belief, but also, and I'm going to put all this together in your confidence that you're speaking on it. I will, if somebody confidently tells me I need to stay at a property and they put me in that place, I'm in. I don't need much else than that. And I'm a person that knows sales and I know destinations. But if someone says to me, listen, next time you have to stay here because they have this, that, and the other thing. You're going to love this about it. You're going to love that about it. Great example. And I say this with all the love I can muster. I hate the Gaylord Opryland in Nashville. And it's not because I hate the property. The property's beautiful. It is the largest property on the planet. But I've now stayed there more than once because someone sold to me the convenience of being near the Grand Ole Opry. Also the cool features that are with it if you're with a family. I've stayed there more than one occasion because someone explained to me why it would be beneficial for me to stay there. It's not close to Nashville at all. Stay there twice. What's another great example of this? Like, it's just, and there's something in confidence and conviction of you saying, you need to stay here and let me explain to you why, especially for those individuals that come in assuming they think something's perfect for them. I need to go on this celebrity cruise ship with my family. We want to have a big family trip. We're gonna, it's our first trip in years. Get me on board. And you know, little 5-year-old Susie is going to hate every moment of Celebrity. Celebrity is an excellent cruise line. Hands down, probably one of my favorite cruise lines. But I wouldn't take my children on it. It's not for them. It's not built for them. And that's okay. They're going to enjoy a different cruise line more. And that's your job as a professional to have that conversation. So you go back with conviction and say, listen, Celebrity is a beautiful cruise line, but you're going to enjoy Royal Caribbean more. And let me explain to you why. There's no kids clubs for the Celebrity. So if you guys want some moments to yourself, you're going to be able to experience that more with Royal Caribbean. I might be incorrect in that, but you know what I'm saying? I don't think they have them. There's water slides on board of the new Royal Caribbean ship. They're going to be able to play bumper cars. They can play basketball. So all these activities are built for children on board. So you're going to have your break. They're going to love their trip and you're still going to get that beautiful cruise experience, right? And it's always hard when someone comes in with an idea and you have to turn them down. And so you're going to lose your confidence unintentionally, but feel confident. And again, this is the moment where you need to remember you're the professional. Even if you're brand new, you making the effort still know more than them coming in not knowing, right? So feel confident in your space to speak about this. Do your research. We are in a world, listen, when I started in travel, we had to close deals on the phone. That's no longer the case. You're all very lucky. People give you the grace. When I started, they did not give us the grace. We were competing against the internet. And if I didn't have that response to them within at least an hour or two, they were booking it somewhere else. I know we're still competing with the internet, but you are in a space where people will give you the grace of time to say, hey, let me craft this for you. I'll get back to you. So when you come back, feel confident in what you're selling. Be proud of what you're selling. And match their energy. Listen, if they're excited, get excited. If excited is not your constant state, get a little bit of energy, drink a little bit of caffeine, and get excited with them. Because if you're positive and you're selling it in a good manner, even if that is just, and if it's not in your nature, that's okay. But adding emojis to an email, because again, I want to circle back to kind of what Rocky was saying. Not everything's going to be over the phone. As much as you want us to be, not everything's in person. We are in a very digital world, but match the energy. Get excited in the email. Use exclamation points. Again, sell the story. Make it feel good. And they're going to want to buy from you. They're going to want to close that deal. They're going to want to put that deposit down. So, objections. This is a real thing. Again, I'm doing an overview of all sales. We'll get into more things another time, but objections are a real thing. And again, I came from the nature of having to sell things on the phone within an hour-long phone call was something that was required of me at the agency I started with, which was wild. Didn't always happen, but I had to know how to deal with this in real time. So things that might come up, I need to think about it. They very well may need to think about it. And we are not car salesmen. We don't need to pressure people, right? So I'm not saying you need to close it on the phone, but what I'm saying is important to know what's holding them up. For you, you need to be thinking through, why are they feeling this way? So I need to think about it. Well, can I? Absolutely. I'm happy to give you time. We can schedule another time to talk. What might be holding you back? Or if this is in an email, same thing. I just need to think about it. Absolutely. Take your time. I'll reach out to you again in a few days. In the meantime, let me know what's holding you back. Maybe I can adjust this to make sure this makes sense and make sure this is exactly what you envisioned for your trip, right? It's too expensive. This is again back to the value. Okay. Focus on the value. It's too expensive. I hear you. I hear you. It is a pricey trip. What of this trip that I just put together to you is the most important? Because from what we spoke about earlier and we kind of talked through what you wanted, I tried to put all that into here. And from what I'm hearing from you, there's pieces that might not make sense to still be in there. So let's find the most valuable pieces. We'll find what's most important to you this, and let's see what we can take out. And you'll find when you do that, they go, oh, I don't want to take out the ocean view room. Okay, well, let's keep that in there. What else can we remove? Can we change the days a little bit? Can we fly out, maybe have a connecting flight if we need to bring the cost down? I don't know. But you showing your interest in trying to change it for them shows to them that you're just not trying to get the dollar. And if you have, again, talked about the value and the cost, there used to be a belief that if you gave them the dollar amount first, and then told the story after, there would be the initial shock, but then it would calm them down because you're like, oh, but I'm getting all these things. There's also a reverse theory that if you build the story and they go and you get all that for just this dollar amount, they're already so excited about what they're getting that they're not as scared by it. Now I see both sides of this because then at the end they're like, oh, that was not what I was prepared for. Like they start buckling. All of a sudden their wallet's further in their pocket and they're just like slowly backing out of your, space, or like you can tell they're no longer responding to emails. Please me. I know that that's not his case, but as long as you're bringing value into the conversation and even taking it back to that first one of, it's too expensive. Okay, well, what do you think might be the cause of that? What do you think we might be able to take away as an important way to focus on that? And then I have to check with my partner. This was the most common um, kickback I've ever gotten in sales. And I will tell you an important piece of conversation. Again, this is a statistic you can look up. If a female claims she has to check with her partner, more often than not, she absolutely does not. And it's not that she's wrong or she's lying. It's she needs some space. They're most, and why I say that is because the female, they don't necessarily control the finances, but they have a big say in the conversation about things like this. And more often than not, they're like, hey, I figured out this trip. Do you want to go on this? Does this make sense? And the husband's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But there's a statistic attached to when it comes to vacations, the females are the driver of that conversation. Now, there are also situations where there are two females in the relationship, so you're dealing with a different kind of animal there, but that's okay. So what I would say is if they say I have to check with my partner, say, of course, why wouldn't you? This is a big decision. This is a lot of money. How about this? Most supplier partners you work with will allow you to hold a trip for free, unless there is a non-refundable component to it. So you kick back to them, I totally get it. I can hold this for you for free for 24 hours. Why don't you go home, have a discussion, let me know what you think tomorrow, sleep on it. This will hold the price, but then know that tomorrow there's a chance we could lose that. Or you say to them, hey, I know we were looking at a non-refundable rate to be this more cost effective with you because you were concerned it was too expensive before. What I can do is I can hold the refundable rate so I know your space is going nowhere. We know you can go on this trip, but know it's a little bit higher than you originally intended. Are you comfortable with that? That puts the ball in their court. So again, and I'm always a believer in holding space on anything, especially because cruise lines and things will let you hold it for so often and hold a rate. So hold the space for them. Offer a risk-free option. Or if you are brave, you can always go, would you like to call them? If they're in person with you. I know that's tougher. But that was a fun tactic that we used to do. If you want to call them, feel free to do so. You guys don't live in that space. I know that we are not in the world of that storefront environment anymore. But again, all of the important objections here are acknowledging them and giving them an option. I totally understand. Check with your partner. Let me know what he, she, or they say. I'll hold this for you. I'll check back with you tomorrow. Make sure you're checking back with them though, because a lot of times when they're saying, I got to check with my partner, they got nervous. And more often than not, when they say I have to check with my partner, they actually don't have to check with their partner. They're just not comfortable with the cost. They're not comfortable with something you added into it. They're not comfortable with something they thought they mentioned to you that you didn't hear. Why you have to check with my partner was always the most common objection we got is because it's the easiest one to defer when someone's not there. They're not embarrassed saying they don't have the money for it. They're not uncomfortable saying they didn't like what you had to say. They're not uncomfortable admitting to you that they don't think you listened to what they had to say. And people get nervous when money's involved. So try to unpack that I have to check with my partner. So if you offer that risk-free option, you also say, hey, and just to be sure, is this exactly what both of you wanted before I hold this? And you might catch some questions there too. Well, no, I actually wanted this. This is a little out of my price range. And you go, no problem, let me adjust it. So, or you can say, is there anything you want me to adjust before I hold this? That gives them the opportunity and puts the ball in their court to make the adjustments. Okay. And an objection handling formula. I didn't realize I had this as my next slide. One, especially with cost, acknowledge it. I understand where you're coming from. I totally get it. This is a big price decision. This is a big cost. Share, clarify it. Share, can you tell me what is you think the thing that's affecting this cost for you? Respond with the value. Here's why I added this in. You had mentioned that this was really important to you, so I thought that could be in here, but we can always remove it. And then let's get this secured so you don't miss out. Again, let me hold this for you at this rate so you know that you have it, and we can always make adjustments. The biggest piece of this, and the rest you could throw out the window for all that I care, is acknowledging it. If they're unsure, they are. They're not lying to you. They're not making it. They're not there. There's something holding them back. It could be they came in there with that $4,000 and knew they were willing to spend that $4,000. They emailed you, but once they saw that dollar amount come over, they're like, but am I ready to do this? Because again, these are emotional relationship-based sales. So if you have sold the value, they're gonna be much more comfortable making that decision. But if you order took in the beginning and they see that dollar amount, they're like, I don't know. I just don't know. I'll give you a prime example of this. My best friend, I don't book her travel. We cut that off after I stopped really booking it, but she does still always book through a travel advisor. And for her trip that she's actually going on in 2 months, she asked for some agencies that I knew in the area, and I told her, and she went to one or reached out to one, and that person was an order taker. They kept shutting her down. She goes, no, you don't want to stay there. But it was her abruptness of it. You want that. We don't even really book with them. You don't want to go there. And she didn't provide answers, and she didn't listen to things that you mentioned to her. We live in an area where we have 3 airports that are local. She didn't look at other options, and she felt very cold and uncomfortable. And so she went to another advisor and said, hey, here's what I'm thinking, and here's what I heard from this other advisor. And I vocalized this to her, and I could tell she wasn't really listening. And this advisor went, I'm so sorry. I know I didn't help you with that. Let me provide some options that make a little bit more sense for you and see if those work for you. And with that statement alone, my friend handed that girl all her money because she acknowledged it. She apologized. Sometimes you're apologizing for somebody else's problem. And she did also, but she was like, what can I fix for you? What is important to you? And she booked what was important to her. And that's where again, in this industry, we tend to get stuck in our ways. And it's so important that you do not let yourself do that. Acknowledge, like you're saying, Donna, listen, understand. Again, never sell out of your own pocket, never sell out of your own wallet. What may be a lot of money to you or not a lot of money to you is not the same thing as the person reaching out to you. And just because a person might be comfortable and what appears to you live in a comfortable financial life or financial status does not mean they have thousands of dollars put away to make big decisions. They may do well and they seem like everything's great for them, but they really only have that budget to work in. Don't be judgy. Don't make it uncomfortable. Acknowledge it. Make them feel comfortable. Help them make the decision. Help them understand the value and why it's important. Okay. Create urgency. Now, This is important. Now, again, we're not like used car salesmen, right? We're not selling vacuums at your front door. So it's not like that. And a lot of times these decisions are made for trips well in advance and they need a lot of time. But I think there is an importance to, we know it's pretty obvious in a lot of suppliers and things. We know when things feel scarce, right? So there's nothing wrong with if you know that something might sell out or you know it's a high volume time period to say, hey, listen, there's only a few rooms left at this price. At least let me hold this for you because that acknowledges one, there's a chance it could sell out. They're more likely to close on it if they think that's an opportunity, especially if you vocalize to them what their options are for changing and editing if necessary. And this is a whole separate conversation, but you should feel comfortable if you're in the space of charging service fees, which I highly recommend. If you charge a set service fee, feel comfortable holding space for them and say, hey, we can make these changes if we need to. And if you need to cancel, you can. Now, service fees I'll do on a whole separate session of this. Y'all, is there a chance? So many of you are still here. I am so sorry. I am in a terrible weather situation, and I didn't mention it, and this happened a few weeks ago too. I am having terrible winds, so I lost internet. I apologize for those of you still stuck on, which is quite a few of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will just pick up from where I was. I did not anticipate that. I'm so sorry. I will try and finish the end up quickly because I know we're close to 8 anyways. But I'm so sorry. Like the wind is like whistling. It's so loud, and I thought I'll be fine. But I live out in kind of the middle of nowhere, so I think it knocked something off a line for a second there. But here, let me pull the presentation back up quick. Thank you, thank you, thank you for those of you that stayed on. I don't even know where I was. I just got so stressed there for a second. But no, I was talking about you know, vocalizing when there's a deal that's happening, right? This is ending by Friday. We know, and I think it's important to, and that's what I was saying. We know a deal might come up again the following Monday, a different kind of deal, right? I remember years and years ago, Norwegian Cruise Line would always be like, the deal only goes to the end of the month. But then on Monday, it was like, and now it includes more. Like you never know what the offer is going to be. So there's nothing wrong with having that conversation. It's like, hey, it could still be here, it could not, but if you want to hold this or hold this rate, you need to hold at this price. And especially if you're booking air, and I know some people are timid to book air and do a full complete package. I'm a big proponent, as you are the professional and as a full service advisor, air should be included. Air can change at any moment. Air can change while you're booking it and checking out. So saying, hey, let me hold this for you at least for 24 hours. Hey, let's at least book the airfare to get you confirmed. That's a great way. Or hey, sometimes it's just $100. Let me put $100 down, hold the hotel. We can always adjust those kind of things. And again, I kind of got a deadline, and I breezed over bonuses. But if you book, I mentioned the kids sale free for so long. If you book by Friday, you get a free room upgrade. If you have a group space, if I book 15 room, or that's extravagant, I book 6 or 8 rooms, I know you're going to get a free room. Like having those conversations with them is important. Okay. Closing techniques. I'm going to breeze through this because again, we do not live in this world, thank goodness, but sometimes you need it. Sometimes you sit on that phone call, or you're going back and forth with emails, 20, 30 emails, just clarifying details and going back and forth. Sometimes you just have to say, and what card do you want to use for your deposit? It's a crummy question to ask, but I'll tell you it works more than it doesn't. Because they go, oh yeah, let me grab that for you. Especially if you're on the phone, that dead silence will kill us, right? When you're like, all right, so here's the value. I've sold the story. You're going to Santorini. You're gonna walk out under that pool every morning, and everything's fabulous, and it's within your budget, and these dates are perfect. We've got great flights, and they're like, I love this. I'm like, great. What do you feel that's good? You could say, oh, sorry, ready to book? Sure. But an assumptive close assumes they are already sold because you sold this great story. So you go, okay, great, fabulous. So what card do you want me to use to hold it? Is it a Visa or MasterCard? It's going to feel scary, but more often than not, it works because they're like, oh, right, you did exactly what I asked. Now, if you're not active listening and you're just order taking, this is not going to work for you. But if you did what you should and you took notes and you paid attention, this should be an easy, okay, what card do you want to use? Do you want to break this into a payment plan? Do you want to pay it all at once? Do you want to pay it later? Those are the questions you should be saying. Choice. This is more on the upselling, cross-selling technique, but in general, when you're having conversations for closing techniques, it should be okay. So it's not like I just want run of the room, run a house room. Or do you want ocean view or ocean front? Just know that ocean view you can only get a partial view, but ocean front you're getting the full ocean. You're going to get a full beach picture when you walk out your balcony every morning. They're going to go, oh, well, I want ocean front. Do you want an ocean view room or a balcony? We don't, or they say, I would go, do you want balcony or ocean front? Balcony, you're gonna be able to have your coffee out there in the morning, watch the waves crash against the ship. Ocean view, you're only gonna be able to see it, but at least it won't close you into there. Don't even offer the inside to start. Things like that, but giving them a choice, not telling them, but always know and selling the option of the better option, they'll lean more into the better option. Fear of loss. We kind of talked this on the last one, but secure it before it's gone. I don't know if this sale is going to be here next week. I don't know if this room category is going to be here next week. Do you want me to hold it for you just in case? Just those are simple, easy guys. And just some formula, some follow-up formula. I know this is probably hard to see in the slide because I'm sharing the screen, but 80% of sales happen after the follow-up. They do not happen on the initial phone call. So that I talked to you about how I used to have to do it on the phone call, but it's actually the statistics aren't there. 80% of sales happen after the follow-up. So you might have to follow up more than once, and that's okay. Don't let go of a lead if they seem interested. 24-hour response. This is difficult during busy season, but try and touch base, even if you don't have the information. If you're working in the FIT space and you're building, Rocky, I'm sure you deal with this with the kind of trips you book if you're still on. But sometimes you're dealing with suppliers that have higher than a 24-hour turnaround. Setting the standards for them is important, saying, hey, listen, this is going to take a minute. I will probably hear back in 48 hours, but if I hear back sooner, I'll check in with you, and I'll let you know. If you say 48 hours, even if you don't have a response, send a quick email. Hey, I still don't have anything. You just said this a few hours ago. Good. Said, hey, I still don't have anything, but don't worry, I'm still checking. I should have it by tomorrow. And then you check in again tomorrow. That shows that you haven't forgot about them. Because I promise you, from the minute you said 48 hours, they are checking their clock to see when 48 hours is to see when that quote comes over. So be honest and open with them. But if it's a turnaround where you're getting all the pricing yourself, 24 hours, get back to them. There's no reason why you can't. I'm sure we're busy and it stinks during this time of year, but they're expecting an answer. And the reality is if they searched hard enough, they could probably get an answer in 24 hours. So if you're not waiting for a response on like an FIT or something like that, try to get that within 24 hours. Or if you do not, say, hey, I had a crazy day. I need a little bit more time in this. I'll have it to you by the end of the day. I'm also a big person and I don't give them time periods. Set realistic expectations. Hey, I should have this by the end of the day tomorrow. So they're not expecting it at 9 a.m. You have all day to get it into them. Hey, I should have this by the end of the week. So if it's on Tuesday, you have a few days. Giving yourself an open time space is really important. Multiple touch points, email, call, text, DM. I'm indifferent to this. I think you need to choose your piece and choose your space. But if you offer these out to your clientele, try and respond to them in these spaces, right? Send the email with the quote, give them a quick phone call, say, hey, I sent that over. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to walk through it with you, let me know. Because even if they said they didn't want to call, it still helps to show that you care and send that phone call. A few days later, send a text. Hey, just checking in on you. Was curious what our thoughts were. Do you need me to change anything? What can I do? Is it too much? Is it too little? What can we do? What adjustments can we make? Things like that. But just always checking in, always using different options for touch points and value. Again, provide value. If you find a bonus perk, hey, guess what? I just found out actually they're offering this additional thing. That's a great way if they haven't closed already and something comes out for a callback. Hey, you know what? They just offer this additional thing. How about I add this in? It's actually going to cost even less, whatever it may be. This is great and it works well with cruise lines because they tend to adjust, you know what I mean? Like pricing, and they'll add here and they'll remove an amenity and add that in. It's not always the case, but if you have it to offer, try to, and just keep offering the value. Okay, final takeaways. Communicate with confidence and enthusiasm, right? Sell it like you're going on the trip. Talk about it like you know it inside and out. And you should. You're the professional. This is the space where you need to take that moment and say, you're the professional. Address objections proactively. Okay. This is what I'm saying. If they're saying, I need to talk to my spouse, I need to talk to my partner, absolutely, I totally understand. Is there anything I can adjust? This is too expensive. Totally understand. What can I remove? I just need to think about it. 100%. I get that. What can I change? Is there anything I can adjust? Or actually, what was the other one? I can't remember it right now. When I was in real time, I can remember it. But just addressing it, acknowledging it, and attempting to answer it in real time, right? So they don't have to be nervous about it. Create urgency without being pushy. Again, we are not selling door-to-door vacuums or knives. You are selling a dream vacation. So say, hey, I don't know if this is going to be here or not, but listen, can we hold it for you? And then you reach back out the next day and they're like, we're just not ready to commit yet. No problem. How about I'm going to reach back out to you in about 3-4 days just to see what the price is still. I'll send you an update and they're going to appreciate that you're thinking that far ahead for them. They're not going to think you're being pushy. You're just going to say, hey, I get it. I know this is a tough decision. I know there's a lot of money involved here. I'm going to also send you that follow-up pricing a few days later, and follow up consistently. Fortune is in the follow-up. This is more of a joke, but it is a reality. Like, not all of it's luck, a lot of it's persistence. So taking the time, not forgetting about a lead. If a lead was interested, and I think that's important to remember that sometimes decisions are not made in a day, sometimes they're not made in a week. Sometimes I am the worst. If I thank goodness I am my own travel agent. I stress my friends and family out to the world's end about when I decide. I'm like, oh, I'm going here for this day. And they're like, when are we booking it? Are we booking it? Are we doing this yet? And I was like, what are you talking about? We have so much time. I book it like 10 days before, and that could be a million reasons. They could just be a crazy person like me, or it could be a financial reason. They might be waiting for another paycheck. They might be waiting for their tax return. They might be waiting for a million different things, a bonus check, who knows? But just keep following up. Hey, I was thinking about you. Hey, I saw this price went down. Hey, I saw they're offering this extra amenity. Keep having that conversation. Keep yourself top of mind for them. Okay. Is there any, I just want to feel free to pop in the chat if there's a technique that you think you'll start applying today or you liked or loved, pop it in there. I want to hear it. Also, let's commit to, just closing more sales in a month. I just threw that in there. But I would love to hear in this Q&A. Oh, you love everything done? I'm good. I'm so glad. Love to hear, what are some of your tough sales challenges? If you have them, pop them in the chat at this ending here. What has come up? What do you think, are issues and objections that come up for you? If you have to jump off, I know I went over time, so I totally understand, but feel free. Is there anything that comes up that you're stumped, you don't know how to get out of it or can't think through it? Please pop it in there. I'd love to talk through it. So Rocky, there's so much good stuff. I really like the ways to handle a rejection. And listen, and I think it's important to know that I'm going to pop my thank you up there so you have my email if you need it. Whether you chose to get into this industry or not, you chose a highly rejectable sales job because are not buying, you're not buying a low cost item. So there's going to be moments where people are going to just put their two heels in and not want to move. And that's okay. And they might not be the sale for you, and they might not be in the right headspace to purchase at the moment. But again, acknowledging and being comfortable in that space of being rejected is going to get you so far, because you're also going to learn something from every rejection that you get. You're going to go, you know what? I should have approached that this way. I should have offered them this. I should have done this, that, or the other thing, right? There's a lot of things I think that you can adjust in your conversation and learn from rejection, and just don't be afraid of it, because like I said, a lot of times they've heard the price. The price scared the hell out of them, and they put their blinders up. They're like this. No, I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you. I'll see you next time. And like, you need to say what you need to bring this down, right? And be like, I totally get it. That was scary. Let me hold your hand. Let me explain why this was expensive. Let me explain what I added into this. You mentioned you wanted to do this thing, so I added in this tour. We can take that out. You can add that in later. Having that conversation is important. But all right, I haven't seen anybody put in sales struggles they have. I left my email up there for a second. Feel free, any of you, I hope you enjoyed the content tonight. If you have specific questions, pop an email to me. If there's a delay in my email, my goodness, so many of my emails have been going to spam lately. I don't know why I have Donna's on. Donna last, or not, or was it Don? I don't know if it was you, Donna Perez, but she was sending me her business cards and I couldn't see them. And I was like, I'm so sorry. They went to my spam. It took me days. I'm always trying. And so I try to check it there as often as I can. But if there's a delay, please know that that's why. But send me your questions. Send me your thoughts. Send me your struggles. It was you. Okay, good. Send me things that you don't want to talk about in here, because I know sometimes that's not comfortable to talk in a group space. So if you have questions or concerns that come up in your sales process, send me an email. That's what it's there for. I'll also pop the Facebook group up. I'm going to stop sharing. One more time, if you're not in there, feel free to add yourself, and I will get you in there so you can watch past episodes. Rocky, I feel like just closing the sale is my biggest issue. And I get it. And sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rocky, and sometimes you feel like you've offered them the sale, you've built this incredible trip, which I know you build incredible trips. And then they're like, all right, I just got to think about it. And you say, no problem. And you're like, oh, that just went to host and panelists. That did not go to the right people. Um, and you're like, all right. And then you check back a few days later and they're like, yep, I'm still thinking about it. And you're like, okay. And then a few days later, you're like, okay, I was just wondering, it seems like space. And they're like, yeah, no, we're thinking about it. Don't worry about us. And you're like, what the heck am I doing? Like, am I just burying myself? Like, am I wasting my time? It can feel that way. And I think the biggest thing is sometimes it's taking that swing, right? It's, hey, listen, I know this is going to expire. I know you're going to lose it. If you want to just put a deposit down to hold it so you don't lose the space, and we can always make adjustments later. Like, I just don't want to see it almost create some stress. If you're spending multiple hours in follow up in a sense, now you have to go, okay, listen, I know you're not, this isn't going to make it to next Tuesday. I'm going to need you to put something down so we can get you in a space where this is going to hold for you. I need you to put something down to get some commitment out of them. Now, this is also, we're going to tangent right now. And not everybody loves this conversation. So this is for an end of the night conversation for all of you that are left. I'm a big believer, and not everybody is, and you are all welcome because it is your business and you do with it what you want to, in a service planning fee. So you are professionals. I pay my accountant to do my taxes. I pay a carpet cleaning service before they get to my house to clean my carpets. Let's think of some other things. You say to them, hey, even if it's a nominal, a smaller amount, it's $50, $100. Hey, I just need this to hold some space, to start working on this for you. And if you're not comfortable with that just being a non-refundable fee that you keep, you say to them and say, know that once you book, this will just go towards your trip, but this is just for my time and the hours that I'm putting into doing all the research for you, and it'll absolutely go towards your trip at the end. Here's what I'll tell you. Are you going to lose some people on instinct on that? 100%. Oh, I don't want to pay for you to search. I can search myself. They can, and they're going to spin their wheels and they're going to struggle. but that's again putting your professionalism into place. And sometimes it takes time. You can't do this at first. You're not going to feel confident to do it first, and that's okay. But knowing your value is really important. And when I do the sales, the service fees class, and I did it to my um, host agency at our national, our yearly event last year. But what I did is I had them take their time that they spend on a booking. And I said, okay, I want you to break down what is the commission you made on your last trip, right? And I'll just do this as a fun example. So say you made $360 on a trip, but you worked 25 hours on it. So you made $14 an hour for that trip. Was it worth it? How much stress was put into those hours? And it takes a minute because you have to look at, like, there might be a river cruise where you would do little to no work and you make a high dollar amount and you're like, wow, I really made it there. But you book like a simple carnival cruise and the amount of work you put into it, or like a carnival cruise where you don't make a ton of commission and the amount of work you put into it isn't worth it, right? Or somebody wants to do the national parks and you don't make a ton on the hotels and you're putting all this work in to get them from the different national parks and book all these different hotels, but you're only making 8% commission because you have to book it through Expedia Tap. I don't know, I'm making it up, but like there's all this work you put in and you didn't put a service fee in there and you're like, I'm making $6 an hour. Was this worth my time? And that's a hard thing to do. I didn't say it once tonight, and now the time has come when you have to work on your business, not just in it. And you have to go back and evaluate some of your trips where you made good money, where you didn't, and see what the dollar per hour is, where it made sense. And then you can start setting some of those fees. And it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, and you'll lose some people that don't want to pay it, but I promise you'll gain the people that see your value. So, I know that was like a tangent there, but it was really to say, if you're worried about sales closing and getting good leads and where it makes sense, especially kind of the type of trips you book, Rocky, God love you, getting commitment right from the start. And then you know that your time and your efforts put into place. So I feel like you hear all the salespeople talking about these techniques and books that we should be familiar with, but I just don't feel comfortable or know what I need to do that guaranteed sale. That's fair enough. Roger, we gotta take some time offline. I know you said you're gonna find me at the next event, but I get that. And listen, I'm gonna say something. I love a good sales book. It's not for everybody. Not every technique is for everybody. This is a broad overview of the techniques I went through tonight, and you have to find what feels most comfortable for you. You have to find what tactics work for you. That might take some time, but sorry, my throat got so scratchy there. And it's a lot of trial and error. You don't. I love fantasy books too, Rocky. Exactly. You don't have to love sales books. You need to. I get it. I just want to be in a fantasy world. Fun fact about me, for those of you that are still on 16 minutes after, when I worked throughout the day, I put on like ambient worlds on YouTube, and it's always like a fantasy background. Like I want to be there while I'm working. But I get it. And also, you probably got into this industry because you love travel, not because you loved sales. And it's frustrating to have to learn the sales process and adapt to these things. But I think your passion about what you're booking will help you craft a sales technique that works for you. I went through a few of them. There are so many of them, and it's going to be trial and error for a while. It's going to be failing for a while. I am a big believer in failing. I've said this on many classes in the past because I would rather, there's a quote that somebody says that I don't mind being wrong because I now know more than I did before. And having that mentality and approaching your sales in different ways each time to try a close is how you're going to find one that makes sense, the most. Woo! I don't know if you could hear that, but it was a very scary wind. That's how you're going to find what makes the most sense for you. And what's comfortable for me might not be comfortable for you. I put out there ones that I know have worked, and I think ones that you could try. And I think if you get into the habit of selling value, and selling the experience, it's going to be harder and harder for them to say no. All right, guys, it's 8:18. I left you for a minute. I'm thankful for those of you that stayed on. If you have questions, pop them in. I'll stay on for about 2 more minutes. If not, I hope I see you next week. I hope you bring a friend next week or tell a friend. I wonder if I know offhand what next week's is. Let's see. And I can give you oh, I like that, Rocky. Thank you. Um, Rocky, I'm going to find you at the next event. Rocky is part of my host agency. You do not have to be part of it to come to this. But we're gonna talk through it. We're gonna get through it. But we do some great events. We have a lot coming up. Also, just for those of you that are still on, I just wanted to do this preview and I'll put it in things. If you are out in the world and in networking in the travel universe, I'm gonna be at a whole bunch of events coming up. And so if you are curious where you might or might not see me at, the first thing I'll be at is the Asta River Cruise Expo in Vienna, Austria, which is March 12th to the 16th. So if you're going to be there, let me know. I'd love to meet you and catch up. I'm also going to be at Las Vegas Travel Agent Forum. I'm going to have a booth there. Oh, you're gonna be at Edge, Rocky. Okay. I'm at Las Vegas Travel Agent Forum, which is March 35th to April 2nd. Then I head to, actually, I'll be on the MSC World America inaugural, which is very exciting, which is, I think, April 9th to the 12th. Then I head to Cruise 360, which is April 22nd to the 26th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I'll have a booth there. And then I go to the ASTA Travel Advisor Convention in Salt Lake City, Utah at the end of May. I don't know the exact dates there. And then I head to Edge in Las Vegas again in June. So if you're going to be at any of those events, please let me know. I would love to meet you all in person. I'm going to have booths at many of them, so you can come up and meet me there or just in general. So I am moving out and about over the next few months. So Rocky, you are definitely going to see me at Edge and among any other places. Also, if you just want a preview of what is next week, we're going to get into upselling and cross-selling, so boosting your agency's revenue. So I'll probably talk a little bit about profit drivers and why it makes sense to upsell and cross-sell and when it makes sense. So that is next week. After that, we're going to get into diversifying your income streams. We're going to get into pricing strategies. That's maybe I'll get into service fees during pricing strategies. Maybe that's the time and place to do that. So, but a lot of good fun things to come. I hope you come back. I hope you loved it. If you didn't love it, listen, I need the feedback just as much as you do at your hotels, about your hotels. You saw my email. If you tell me what you liked, you didn't like, questions, comments, sarcastic remarks. I want to hear them all. That's the only way I can get better. But I just want to thank you all for joining me once again for another fabulous Elevate Your Agency. And I will see y'all next week for upselling and cross-selling. So happy selling this week, guys. And if you need me, you know where to find me, either in the Facebook group or via email. And I can't wait to see you all next week. Thank you, Maurizio. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Rocky. Have a great night. Enjoy your weekends.